Hi, my name is Theo, and you are listening to Between Two Trains. We bring you the best and brightest entrepreneurs in the North DeKalb area on the 1st and 15th of every month. Today, your co-hosts are Van Pappas and Eric Most. And now, Between Two Trains.
Welcome to another edition of Between Two Trains, a business podcast where we bring you the best and brightest entrepreneurs in the North DeKalb area. Today, we are back out on the road. It's been a while since we've been on location, but we are at the Ace Hardware in Chamblee. And once again, I have my good friend Eric Most is sitting right beside me. Eric, welcome back.
Hello. Good morning.
Yeah, so here we are. I think the last time we went on the road, you came with me. We did Mad Italian. We got to talk with Tom and Shannon over at Mad Italian, great entrepreneurs. And I think we're going to have fun with another great entrepreneur today. His name is Brian Fisk, and he opened a Ace Hardware right here in Chamblee Plaza, which was so desperately needed. So, Brian, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. Doing well. Thanks for having me. I really like what you're doing with the show.
Thank you. We appreciate that. So, tell us, you have your history is you've been with Ace for a while?
Yes, I have. I've been with Ace Hardware my entire working career. So I've started in high school, and it was the very first job I ever had.
So like 2 years now, right?
Yeah. So this is year 4, and I'm just following the trajectory that most entrepreneurs do and opening a new store.
Right. So what was that like? Tell us a little bit about the experience of, this is the first time you've opened an Ace?
This is, yeah. So I've been with Ace, like I said, during the early stages of my career, on and off, through college, but in total, I've been with Ace for 25 years. Most recently, I worked with Hills Ace Hardware in Loganville and Winder. Was with them for 15 years, and decided, it's been a lifelong dream and goal to pursue this opportunity to own my own store. And so this past year, I decided that the time was right and jumped out into it. So here we are.
So how does it work? Ace is a franchise, or are you an independent, or how is the structure at Ace?
Yeah, it's often mistaken as a franchise. It's a unique arrangement, I guess you'd say. Ace is a dealer-owned cooperative, which means all of the Ace stores collectively own Ace Hardware, the mothership. So the dealers are the only stakeholders in the store, or in the company rather, and there's a few things that we have to do similar to what a franchise would do as far as, getting to be an Ace store. But once an Ace store, the beauty of it is you're completely independently owned and operated. And the fact that we're locally independently owned and operated is an even bigger, thing for us, in that it allows us to do, basically whatever we want within the store, to kind of cater to the community and localize it and make it truly, our own store. So the store, hopefully over time as we develop, will show our character and be very unique to Chamblee.
So you mentioned locally owned and operated. So you're here in Chamblee?
Yes. So I stay here in Chamblee. How to answer that,
No, go ahead.
Yeah.
The listeners would love to hear
we
it.
cut that part out.
You
can
can
cut this part out and start that over.
Right.
We can edit that part, right?
All right. We can cut all that out. Let me rephrase the question.
No, it's fine. I'm sorry.
So locally owned and operated. So you're right here in Chamblee.
That is correct. So I actually live in Walton County, but I am working my way towards Chamblee. My girlfriend lives here in Chamblee. She lives in Huntley Hills. She also works here at the store. So she and I have a unique relationship, but it's been really, really cool, and it's awesome to be sharing my dream with her and to be able to do that. She is a lifelong resident of Chamblee and of Huntley Hills, and it's been really cool in that I've gotten the perspective, and having not grown up here, I've gotten a lot of perspective and history about not only the neighborhoods around here, but this plaza. We reside in Chamblee Plaza, and so to hear the history and know the history of Chamblee Plaza has been pretty cool.
Eric, I think I already have a hot or not in the hopper just from what he just said.
Chamblee Plaza.
Chamblee Plaza is definitely
with his girlfriend working here, so we'll get to hot or not later in the show.
She's hot too, yes.
It could be caliente hot. Picante. That's.
She just walks by.
Very, very careful how I answer these questions from here on out.
Right. She is on the floor working, helping the customers. So
I was speaking about being on the floor. You mentioned you started in high school.
Mm-hmm.
How many different positions can you hold within the company when you work here?
You know, the beauty of a small business, and I think, you know, of course, entrepreneurs will tell you this, is you wear many hats.
Yeah.
Well, when we're a small store, and I think any Ace Hardware store would tell you this, you know, not only does the owner wear a lot of hats, but every employee does. So even when I was in high school, or you know, the folks that I have now, or younger staff that I have working for me now, or a lot of my staff, everybody wears a different hat. So one minute they might be helping a customer in the fastener aisle, the next minute they might be checking that same customer out, you know. So there is a lot of different positions to be held. You know, I think there's also, I think as you grow with a company, just like any company, there's a lot of responsibility to be gained and you know, opportunities to be had.
You know what I love about Ace, and not to bash the big box competitors of yours, but it just sort of feels more like, you know, you get that personalized service. If you need to answer the phone, we're on the air. Go ahead for it. We can take a caller.
Yeah,
we got a caller coming in. No, what I was saying is, it feels like you get more personalized service. You know, when you walk into an Ace, it's not that big box where there's, you know, 50 employees and you might not find someone to help you with what you're looking for. Here, you walk in and you're instantly greeted.
Right, absolutely. No, that's one of the things. You know, if there's three things that we Ace, you know, just lay our hearts down on. I mean, it's truly what helps us to compete against these big box stores. It's going to be convenience, you know, the fact that we're right here at the front of a neighborhood, or easy to get in, easy to get out. You know, it's the quality products that we sell, a lot of different unique products. But service is the cornerstone of it all, and to you know, to be able to, you know, have a staff that, you know, acknowledges you as soon as you walk in the door. We oftentimes say, you know, just like Chamblee Plaza used to be, those that are in this community that know Chamblee Plaza, it used to be a place you'd hang out. You'd come in, you'd go in, they'd know you, they'd recognize you by face, know you by name, and that's exactly what we're all about. You know, we want to know our customers. We know a lot of them already. We recognize them when they come in, the repeats. You know, we certainly want to make every effort to get to know them, and you know, we want to have those personal relationships. So, but I think the service aspect of it, you know, we're highly trained. We go through a lot of training, and I think it's one of those things where you can come in here and get a level of service that you can't get at those other stores. And those stores, don't get me wrong, are very, very good at what they do. They're excellent retailers. They're the best of the best, and you know, we compete in their shadows. But we definitely feel like we have a leg up when it comes to service.
Well, now, they being big boxes, you know, they do have a lot of products. Do you ever find yourself in a situation where a customer walks in and because of your size, you know, what's the square footage here? How many square foot?
We're the retail sales floor is right at 12,000 square foot.
12,000 square foot, which is dramatically smaller than the big box stores. Do you find yourself having to ever turn someone away saying, hey, I just don't have that? Or what's your solution to that?
Yeah, we do, and trust me, it pains me to turn people away. You know, we hate to tell customers no, and it's not because we're missing another dollar in the register. That's not it at all. It's because we're letting a neighbor down. We're disappointing, you know, somebody that you know, that's just it hurts us to say no. You know, we want to be that solution, and so. But to answer your question, we have a you know, we have it packed in here pretty tight. So we have a lot. People don't realize we have a lot more items when it comes to the specialty departments. Plumbing department, fasteners, even paint department. We have a lot more selection than what Home Depot or Lowe's has. We have probably a lot more of the breadth, the width of selection, whereas they have more depth. You know, we might only have 4 cans of a particular primer on the shelf. They'll have 40 cans, you know. Right. So I think, you know, but it allows us to really fill in gaps. So we have a ton of stuff. Plumbing is a great example of items where they just don't stock it. They don't have the room to stock it in the way they're set up. So not only do we stock those small, hard-to-find items, but we have a staff that knows where to find it and how to use it and how to tell you how to, you know, install it. So it's definitely our you know, our advantage. So, but you know, Ace. We hear Ace a lot of times talk about, you know, Home Depot or Lowe's is more about home renovation. That's where you go if you're, you know, remodeling a kitchen or you're adding it onto the house or you need lumber or drywall or building materials. But Ace is where they would come if it's home preservation. You know, they're going to paint the kitchen or they're going to, you know, remodel a bathroom and put a new faucet in and, you know, change out a light switch or something. That's where we're at in Excel.
And I think Van, you and Brian, you were talking about the service. Could you say that Ace is the place with the helpful hardware people? Is that the
Folks.
Okay.
Used to be man,
You gotta
but
get
these
the
days
tagline
it's
right,
folks.
man.
That's
Come
right.
on.
And absolutely. I mean, helpful is our weapon. That's how we compete. And
Eric
that's,
seems
yeah.
to get
Folks-
those
Yeah.
taglines in every episode
Absolutely.
that he does.
But that's just it. The Ace brand. It's an iconic brand, and that jingle is an iconic jingle. Everybody knows that. Ace is the place with the helpful hardware folks.
Yeah,
Right.
that's no, it's very effective. And looking around here, to your point about the number of SKUs, I mean, how many SKUs do you have in the store?
Oh gosh, we probably have currently around 35,000, 40,000. It's
So just to tell you and describe for the listeners who haven't been in here, you get a 12,000 square foot store with around 35,000 different products. It's really impressive. You should come in here. I guarantee you find something you want or need.
and it's
you
unique.
could also order stuff, right? If you don't have something and someone says, "Hey, I really want to buy it," here.
Absolutely, we have access to 100,000 items, and I'm talking within potentially 24 hours. We have a very, very good. Ace has done a really good job of figuring out the whole special order system. A lot of times people go into one of the big box stores and the word special order comes up, and they throw their hands up like, whoa, that takes 2 weeks. And when we start talking, hey, let's see if we can order it. We could have it here tomorrow. If I order it before 2:00 today, it'll be in tomorrow. So,
Nice.
and we have an access to just a network of vendors. Not all of them are stocked in our distribution center, but most everything we can have within just a few days.
I want to take a second and change gears and talk about being an entrepreneur and what you had to go through. So tell us, we got our banking expert, Eric Most, here from Chase Bank. Tell us what your experience was. Did you have to borrow money from Ace? Did you have to privately go out to a bank? How did that work?
Right. It's been the whole experience has been a blast. I mean, I'm having just having a lot of fun. But with Ace, it started as obviously I have everything I own is on the line. Of course, everything I have is collateral right now. I think I even had a retinal scan done on my dog. So I went through the SBA loan process, which is it's quite a process.
It's a
Eric,
process.
you know that better than anybody. And I think
Yep.
a lot of times it's sometimes a vetting process. There's people that fall out because it just gets to be too much. And
Right.
For myself, it definitely was a lengthy process, and crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's, but it was well worth it. So I have essentially my entire, like I said, life savings and everything against the business, and then the bank loan as well. So oftentimes people come in and they say, "Oh, Brian, you're the owner." I'm like, "Nah, really, I'm just the manager. I'm managing this bank. I'm managing this for the bank." So,
All right.
but
So why Chamblee Plaza? Obviously, you said your girlfriend lives in Huntley Hills. That's right behind Chamblee Plaza. How did you say, "This is where I want to be"?
Great question, and I looked at a lot of locations, and so it started with just approaching, Ace Hardware, the new business team at Ace, and learning of different locations that were available. And there's a lot of stores that were for sale, which is an easier avenue to get into, if there's buying existing established business. But none of them appealed to me. And then there was other locations that we looked at, and as I was looking, I had gotten to know Chamblee through, obviously, Stacy and being here and going out to dinner and going to the different restaurants and learning this community and learning what it was about. And it absolutely, resonated with me. This community has, just that real strong sense of community. And this is a place where, people become your friend, I feel like. And I saw that in whether it was a dining experience or a shopping experience or just walking, in the neighborhood. So when I saw the plaza and the renovations that were taking place and they were cleaning it up, we were driving by one day to go to dinner, and I said, Stacy, that's the perfect spot right there. Because some of the other areas I looked at were what I'd call more of a fishbowl community, if that's the right word, where it just felt like people were just swimming by the window, but there was never that sense of, just togetherness that this community has. So that was definitely an appeal. And when I kind of looked at the demographic of it all and what, the growth that's taken place, and granted, there's a big box store, Home Depot, mile and a half in one direction and Lowe's mile and a half in the other. But, if there was a perfect spot for us to be, it's right in between the two.
So a lot of our listeners are currently working, and they have aspirations to one day kind of develop some entrepreneurial spirit. How did you approach Ace? How did you develop that conversation, and what recommendations would you have for people who maybe want to broach that conversation?
Yeah. I think, for me, it may be a little different in that I was already, in the business. I think
Yeah.
sometimes, an entrepreneur, he may work for a big business for a while, might be in a executive position, and then they decide, you know what, I'm going to branch out and go open up a franchise. And it may be something they don't know anything about that franchise. For me, it was a little different. I knew quite a bit about it, and I knew exactly what I was getting into. So for me, it was more a matter of really just, I knew early on that this was something I wanted to do in my young 20s. I knew that I just kind of had that, you hear him talk about that entrepreneurial spirit and that burning desire to do it. And it's
True
always been
north.
something. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so for me, it was a matter of, this is something I really want to do, and didn't know if I'd ever be able to get to that point. Financially, it's a major undertaking and a big risk, but spent my entire life working towards that dream and that goal. And so, for any entrepreneur that's out there, I think, obviously the biggest thing is to just keep your eye on the goal, but make sure it's something you're passionate about and something you know the subject matter.
Yeah.
So since ACE is not a traditional franchise model where, like, hey, I've got to pay McDonald's $1 million to open a franchise McDonald's, what is the relationship with ACE? You said you have to, sign your name to everything for the bank. What
Right.
about, what you had to sign or do with ACE? Do you have to have a certain time frame commitment, or?
With ACE, it's a fairly simple process in the sense of, there's like everything, there's a vetting process, and they want to do the analytics on, the area that you're looking at. There's two ways of approaching it. One would be, to approach ACE's new business team and say, hey, I'm interested in opening an ACE store. And they might tell you where the opportunities lie. The other would be to go to them with what you see as an opportunity, and they'll look into that location as well. What's interesting is when I approached ACE about this location, I did not know it at the time, but there was already an ACE hardware store in Chamblee
There
Plaza.
used to be one here long
and
ago.
I didn't know that. And fortunately for me, they were a very well-known and a well-run ACE store. So from my, I always say it was a fortunate thing for me, because we get a lot of people come in that say, boy, we missed the ACE store that used to be here. And it could have been the opposite, right? They could have been a poorly ran store, and the community would have said, "Oh, not another ACE store."
Well, that was
a
during,
disaster.
I've been here a long time, like Stacy,
Right.
and that was during the years where Chamblee Plaza was really at its heyday. And I
Right.
believe we're coming back to that heyday. We've seen a lot of changes. But yeah, there was the ACE, there was a drugstore, there was
Right.
Woolworths, there was Hancock Fabrics, there was a
Yeah.
grocery store.
Yeah.
It was a bustling shopping center. And then we had the down years
Sure.
where, after the recession, a lot of those businesses left, and we were left with a lot of vacancy. But I think that's turning around. You got a new tenant coming in just a couple of doors down from you, Five Below.
Correct, yeah.
I don't know how that'll help you, but it might.
Yeah.
And we obviously have the Crunch Fitness, which has become very popular. It seems like they're taking a lot of the parking lot.
Right. Yeah.
That part of the shopping center seems to be always packed with cars.
And Chick-fil-A. Don't forget that.
Absolutely.
Chick-fil-A has been here since a long time ago. I remember it being here when I was a teenager in the 80s, so it's been around a long time. They had, excuse me, they had an opportunity to purchase their lot after the '08 recession, so they actually are technically not part of the shopping center. They own
Right.
their parcel separate from the shopping center.
Now, Chick-fil-A is a great business to be directly in front of, and obviously they stay very busy. And my staff, though, if they listen to this, they're going to roll their eyes when they hear this probably. But I use Chick-fil-A as an example in every interview that somebody came through. I said, when you walk into some of these other fast food franchises, you always know what to expect, what you're going to get. But when you walk into a Chick-fil-A, there's always just this difference. You feel it in the atmosphere that's in there. It's
I think it goes hand in hand with what you were talking about before with customer service.
Absolutely.
Chick-fil-A is
they're known
definitely
for their
a customer
service.
service-oriented business. And
Very, very much so, and so they just do things a little differently, and I've talked a lot about that with our staff. That's what we want here when customers walk in. We're not trying to be Chick-fil-A. Don't mishear me, but we want people to feel a difference when they walk in the door. Whether it's the way they were greeted, whether it's the way the store is organized, the cleanliness of the store, the scent that's in the bathroom. I mean, every detail matters, and it's all very, very important to us. And I've got a staff, and I'm very, very fortunate to have the staff I have that has bought into that concept, and they are just as bothered by a piece of trash on the floor as I am, and they'll pick it up, instantly. And it's part of what we do to differentiate and be.
Well, we're going to have to take a commercial break in 1 second. Before we do, I got one more question. So you've been with Ace a long time. You worked on the floor a lot. Now that you are the boss and you own the store, from a time perspective, how much of your time are you spending running the business side and not necessarily on the floor anymore?
Sure.
Are you finding that you're less and less on the floor, or is that not the case?
That's the biggest challenge, and that has probably been the biggest challenge for me in the whole transition is finding that balance of time between office and floor, especially when you're a brand new business, and you're trying to establish yourself. It's, in my mind, it's critical that I'm on the floor and teaching and leading and coaching and meeting the neighbors, and it's an important thing. And so I'm trying to spend as much time as I can on the floor, but there's still back office things that need to be done. And fortunately, there's tools in place, with technology, what it is these days, and having a lot of my back office is managed through my accounting firm that Ace is partnered with, and so that's helpful. But it still requires somebody back there inputting it and putting the numbers together. So that has probably been the number one challenge, man.
Well, Eric, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to play our fun Hot or Not. I'll let you take the first fastball at Brian. You are listening to Between Two Trains. We'll be back right after this.
Looking for an affordable, functional, and creative space to work? Check out 3411 Co-working in downtown Chamblee. They have flexible month-to-month office space options that include fiber internet, meeting rooms, printing, coffee, snacks, and networking events. 3411 Co-working is the perfect place for entrepreneurs, remote workers, and small business owners looking for a one-stop shop for your professional needs. Stop by for a tour Monday through Friday from 9 to 5 and see how 3411 Co-working can work for you.
Welcome back to Between Two Trains. You can listen to us on our website at betweentwotrains.com, or if you're in your car, just pull up your favorite podcasting app, Stitcher, Google Music, iTunes. We're on all of those. So, Eric, you got a hot or not for us to start us off?
I do. So, customer comes in, and they are not very experienced with home renovation. They have an idea, but they have no way of paving the path to get done what they want. Hot or not? Do you recommend help and a contractor or the DIYers?
DIY is my answer.
Yeah.
Obviously we want to coach that person through it, and I think a lot of times we can. A lot of these projects are a lot simpler. There's YouTube. There's things that they can reference. There's a lot
HGTV.
of
Yeah.
HGTV. There's a lot of ways that somebody can do that. And so the DIYer that comes in here, we respect. I had an 85-year-old woman the other day that was fixing her toilet. She was taking the flapper out, putting a new handle in. And
85.
85.
Nice.
Guesstimation. I mean, she might have been 88. I don't know. But no. But I have admiration and respect for people who try, and she was absolutely doing that, and we can coach people through that. We can walk through it, and of course, we know when somebody's getting uncomfortable. If I'm in the electrical aisle and trying to tell somebody how to wire a switch, I know when to pull back and say, hey, you might just be best off calling an expert on this. So.
Right. Nice. Yeah, in fact, my wife came in here, and you and Stacy helped her with a project that she was doing for our son's room, and with the paint.
I think.
Yep, it was a painting project. It turned out great.
Good.
All right, so hot or not? You mentioned earlier in the show that your girlfriend works here. Typically, we ask the hot or not of being married to an entrepreneur,
Sure.
but this is a little bit different.
Fair.
So, is it hot or not to have a family member, in this case a girlfriend, working with you? You have to see her all day long?
Yeah, no, it's a great
and at
question.
Night?
And fortunately, she and I have a very unique relationship. The chemistry is awesome. She's worked in this industry and in this business for several years. I met her through this, through the industry. So I think, we have the same interests at heart, and so we work in the same place, and we have the same interests, and our relationship outside of work is very strong as well. So for me, it's been, and for her too, I think it's been really cool. I think we've really enjoyed the fact that we're together all the time. I think anybody that's going to date me has to reside in an Ace store because that's where I live. But I think for us, it's working. It can not be hot. I mean, I think anybody that's married or family in the business could tell you that. We have done a really good job and very intentional about it, of dividing responsibilities, and she handles this piece of it, and I'll handle this part of it, and I think that helps. And at the end of the day, I realize that it still filters through me, but I'm also very aware of what contribution Stacy makes to this business, and she's I can say this, I probably wouldn't be this far along with where the store is at right now without her.
Without her. That's great. So do your employees ever feel like, awkward because that doesn't come up?
I don't think, no, because we do, and we're a very transparent company, very transparent, ownership management. We told everyone in the interview process what our relationship was and how it works, and I think everybody here respects it and understands it, and we do a very good job of I think most customers come in here may or may not know that we're together, but I think we do a good job of being very professional about it. And even on those days when we're mad at each other, and trust me, there's times when I'll say something that will trigger her, but we both know, okay, it's time to go opposite ways. Sure. and stay focused on the task at hand. So
You go down aisle 9, I'll go down aisle 3.
Exactly.
Speaking about the aisles,
she tells me to go somewhere other than aisle 9. I promise you.
Okay, well, as long as you're the ace of hearts, that's all that matters.
That's right.
All right, so speaking about aisles, memorizing all the aisles, hot or not for every employee?
I'd like to say hot.
Yeah.
You know who the worst at it is in the store? And it's me. And that's crazy, isn't it? I mean, I helped set the entire store up. I laid the store out on paper. I designed the whole layout. And I struggle with aisle numbers. I always have my entire career. I've got young ladies up front who you walk in and you say, hey, what aisle is this in? And they'll say, that's in aisle 7, halfway down on the left. And I'll say, is it 7 or is it 8? It's just, for whatever the reason, aisle numbers, I struggle with. But, I can walk you directly to it and tell you, it's on the third peg hook. But
is that a trait that when you are interviewing these employees that you try to, do you try to get that out of them during the interview process?
Nah, not
Not
intentionally.
really.
I think, for us, and I think hopefully you see it with the way our staff interacts with you as a customer. The biggest trait we look for, is we always say we hire for attitude and we will train for aptitude. It's just we want people who are outgoing and friendly and energetic. And
Eric, that's such an entrepreneur.
you hear it all the time. I know,
man.
but it's so true.
I love it,
It's
though.
so
I
true,
love it,
and it
though.
is entrepreneurial, and you've probably heard it 1,000 times.
Yeah.
But it's so true. Like, I could have somebody come in here with all kinds of plumbing and electrical experience or paint experience, but if they're grumpy and they have no personality, it does me no good because, it's just not who we want to be.
Attitude often determines your altitude in your career, and you know what the difference is, Van?
What?
Only one letter.
That's right.
That's I like that. That's
Both
nice.
of y'all, man, I tell you, y'all
deep
are,
in here
y'all
now,
are
isn't it?
deep, man. I thought this was a podcast about entrepreneurship. Eric.
We're nailing it over here at the Ace Hardware store
Yes.
in Chamblee.
Yeah.
So come on in,
Yeah.
and you can get your
You can
deep
nail it, too.
thinking.
We're having fun. We're going to be here for another hour, so come
Yeah.
on in.
Deep thoughts with Eric Fisk. So, hot or not, and I'm not sure what ACE requires you to do, but we like business plans. So, hot or not, doing a business plan for your business.
Hot, I would say.
Did you do one when you first started?
Absolutely. And ACE required it. I think even the ACE guy said, really your ACE resume kind of trumps your business plan, but we want to see it. We want to see it. And for me, it was way bigger. The business plan was way bigger for the bank. The bank, I wrote a pretty extensive business plan, and I think the bank called me and said, man, your business plan looks great. And of course, I went through the interview process. You get an interview with the SBA process. And I think I would say, without doubt, my business plan helped in that whole process.
Do you have to deal a lot with that, Eric, at Chase?
With SBA, typically requires 3 years with 2 years month-to-month projections.
Yeah.
So it's essential. And, the more specific, obviously, I've yet to review and see any business plans that are negative. So they're all optimistic and positive. But I think having a plan is not nearly as important as planning because things change. We're in a dynamic marketplace. And so that mindset is key.
Yeah, I think, and you're absolutely right. And we might put a plan down on paper that was written a year ago this time, but, things are changing and things are changing every day. And
Does ACE want you to come back to them on a yearly basis or something?
No, I don't
once
think.
you're
I
up
think,
and running, so.
I think if we were, there's nothing written that we have to do that.
Yeah.
Clearly, if we were a struggling store that, was not making it, I think there would, have to be some meetings and, hey, what are we going to do to right the ship? But, I think overall, having a plan, and I think having a plan, whether it's a business plan or a daily plan or a weekly plan or a monthly plan is critical. I think you've got to, as an entrepreneur, we wear a lot of hats, and you guys know this as well as anybody, and I can fill my whole day up with things to do. There's always something to be done. It's about focusing on the things that really matter, and so being able to prioritize and put the plan together for what matters today or what matters this week or this year even. So
How about, hot or not, sharing your financials with your employees?
that's it's always a mixed review, right? I think it's hot, and I think it's a good idea. Again, we're a transparent company, so we will share. Will we share everything right down to the penny at the bottom? Maybe, maybe not. I haven't even determined that, to be honest with you. But we do share a lot of metrics that are measurable, like let's say our sales per customer, or our percentage of customers that are ACE Rewards customers, and because those are things that our employees can have a direct impact on. Obviously.
Do you do any kind of contest around
ACE,
that?
We do, yeah,
whoever
we do.
can
We've
sell
got
the
one
most.
ongoing right now
Yeah.
with ACE Rewards, yeah. And I think, ACE, the CEO of ACE, the ACE corporate, he's been quoted oftentimes as saying, in business we keep money, or we keep score with money, and that's, there's nothing to be ashamed of there. We're in business to make money, make a profit. And I tell our employees the same, so I don't think it's anything to be ashamed of or to be bothered by, because at the end of the day, that our success, how much money revenue we can generate, or how much profit we have at the end of the year, or not have. Hopefully that's not the case, but I think it's what we can do with that. It's the platform. How do we use this store as a platform to to give back to the community, to provide better opportunities for our employees, whether it's through pay raises or advancements or whatever it is. That all comes through keeping score with money.
And with this model, community-based model, the success of the revenue is indicative of how many people in the community you've helped
Right.
and you've serviced.
We have, and that's one thing you asked, qualifying employees, and I think, the one thing that I love to see on an employee's resume, and it's near and dear to me, it's huge, is, it's almost, I look for folks that have been in positions or roles, whether that are of, that kind of indicate they would have a servant's heart. Did they volunteer at the church? Did they do things extracurricular outside, of work, as far as what they do to better the community? Because, that's truly who we want to be. That we're about, we feel very strongly that I feel as an entrepreneur and owning this store and this community is, probably the most gratifying and fulfilling thing for me is to add value to this community, whether it's through helping the 85-year-old fix her toilet, or whether it's, giving back, outside the community to help the Chamblee Police Department with an initiative they're doing, whatever it may be. So.
Yeah, in fact, you did that.
We did,
Just to give
yeah,
a plug
we did.
during the holidays, right?
Right, absolutely.
Yeah.
We participated. It was something that was Stacy and her daughter Claire wanted to do, and we wanted to help the homeless community here in Chamblee, and it was very, very important. One of the pre-qualifiers we had to do that was whatever we raise, whether it's money, food, clothing, whatever it may be, we want to make sure that it stays in this community and it just doesn't get pushed down the road somewhere in Atlanta. And
That's great.
And so Chamblee Police hooked us up with an organization that did that, and we partnered with them on it, and it was awesome to do that. It's something we'll do every year from here on out, and we'll do a lot more things, along those lines.
That's great. Well, fortunately, we are out of time. We've come to the end of our show. So, Eric, thank you once again for coming on the show. And Brian, any parting words you want to tell people? Everyone knows where you are, right? Come
Let's
in
hope
and
so.
say hello to Brian.
If you're listening to this and you don't know where we are, we're located in Chamblee Plaza, just next to Chick-fil-A, as we referenced earlier. By all means, please come check out our store. We want it to be something different. This is truly a community store, so when you come in here, if there's something you see that we don't have or don't see that you wish we had, or a particular brand of dog food, whatever the case, that's the beauty of local ownership. You can tell us, and we can have it within a day or two. You know, we truly want to cater to the community. And if you come in here, I think a lot of people think hardware store. They just think it's, you know, a bunch of aisles full of nuts and bolts and plumbing and that. And I think if you come in here, you'll see that we have a huge gift section. We've got local products. We're tying to the local community. We have local nut butters behind you there, Van. We have local sauces and rubs and jams and all kinds of fun stuff. We have a big gift department.
You know Striplings? Have you heard of
Striplings?
Striplings?
Striplings is a really cool product. They're out of South Georgia.
Yeah.
Their beef jerky is what I love the most about them.
I'm surprised my wife hasn't picked some up because you know, she's from the area where Striplings is. She may not know that. She'll be listening to this and being here the next day. Well, thanks again, Brian, for coming on the show, and thank you to all our listeners for listening to us. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another great entrepreneur.
Thank you, guys.